Anyone who grew up playing basketball has more than likely, at some point in time, fantasized about hearing their name called by Commissioner Adam Silver on draft night. After years of putting blood, sweat, and tears into the sport they love, draft night is usually a culmination of all of that hard work for prospects and a form of validation that they belong amongst the best basketball players in the world. While it's only the beginning of their professional journeys, it's also a cause for celebration that they can look back on their childhood self and say that they made their dreams come true. This leads us to the topic of today's video, which will be revolving around a player who was well on his way to having this exact situation come into place, but chose to go a different, much more controversial, and honestly incredibly risky route, with that player being Terence Davis of the Toronto Raptors. We'll discuss the kind of prospect he was at the time of the draft, the decisions he made, and how exactly he got to where he is now. Before we get started though, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, as all support is very much appreciated. Now, with that being said, let's begin. Dating all the way back to Terence Davis's high school days, he's never been someone that was afraid of a challenge. Davis was a multi-sport athlete that actually made more of a name for himself on the football field, and if you were to ask any of his friends, coaches, or teammates, they all probably would have told you that he would choose football as the sport he should focus on regarding college recruiting. According to Davis himself, he said, "I was a 6'4" wide receiver with long arms and huge hands who could catch everything that came my way. Why wouldn't I play football?" At the same time though, between his junior and senior years, he was ranked as the nation's 40th best shooting guard, so while he wasn't exactly a top prospect at his position, he was garnering some attention. Because of this, he had a choice to make between football and basketball, and to pretty much everyone's surprise, he chose basketball. As I mentioned earlier, Davis was not afraid of a challenge, and his father even urged him to choose basketball because he knew that it would be the bigger challenge for him to face. So, with only one scholarship offer from a power conference school, he took it and committed to Ole Miss before his senior season even began. When he got to Ole Miss, in his first year, nothing was guaranteed for him on the team, and he learned the hard way what exactly that meant. He only played about 6 minutes per game that year, and several times he didn't even get to play at all. This, admittedly, was not easy for him, and in an interview with NBA.com recently, he even came out and said that he was wondering at the time if he chose the wrong sport. This uncertainty only pushed him harder though, and in his second season, not only did he earn himself a regular role in the rotation, but he even pushed his way into the starting lineup, as he broke out with averages of 14.9 points, 5.3 rebounds, and 1.4 steals per game, while shooting a nice 48% from the field. That year got him back on track for what his long-term plans were, which was to make it to the NBA, and after his junior season, he even tested the waters a little bit, but based on the feedback he received from scouts and agents, he chose to return for his senior season to try to bolster himself as a prospect. When he did that, he went on to have his best year at the collegiate level, averaging a career high in points, rebounds, assists, and steals, while shooting a career high from 3 as well. He earned himself an invite to the NBA Draft Combine in preparation for the real deal after that year, and while there, he definitely turned some heads. Recently, top prospects have become a rarity in the Combine scrimmages that take place, which is a good thing for the fringe players trying to improve their draft stock in front of scouts. Davis played in both scrimmages and played very well, shooting 12 of 21 from the field in those games combined. On top of that, his measurables from the physical standpoint were also quite impressive, as his wingspan measured in at 6'9", and his hand size was the biggest amongst shooting guards. By the end of those workouts in front of tons of NBA teams, Davis seemed like a lock to at least be picked in the second round. After looking at several mock drafts, his name appeared in all of them, with him being projected to be picked anywhere from the mid-30s to mid-40s range. The combination of his steadily improving offensive game with his always reliable defense and his ideal physical build made him a gem for any team willing to take a chance on him. On the night of the draft, a bunch of his family gathered together to watch and hopefully hear Davis's name called, but what they would soon come to find out would be pretty surprising to say the least. Davis told everyone to wait and to trust him, because before the draft, he had opted to go a route that would prove to be very high risk, but potentially very high reward. Knowing there was little to no chance he would hear his name called in the first round, which is where players are given guaranteed contracts, Davis had no interest in being given a two-way contract. Two-way contracts are what a majority of second-round picks receive from teams, and it means that they spend half of their time playing with the NBA team and half of their time playing with the team's G League affiliate. Playing time is rare for players with these contracts, and opportunity is minimal in many instances. So instead, Davis told teams in the second round not to draft him at all. The moment that thousands of children dream of with the opportunity to hear Adam Silver call his name out on draft night was right there in front of him, but in his words, he chose to bet on himself instead. The next day, he actually received a call from his Ole Miss head coach Kermit Davis, who asked if he was sure he made the right decision, and Davis explained to him that he truly thought he did. See, his goal at the time was to play so well in Summer League that a team would offer him a guaranteed contract instead of a two-way, despite going undrafted. Obviously, a lot of things had to go right for this plan to work, but he was confident in his own ability. And when the Nuggets offered him a spot on their Summer League team, he took it without hesitation. Right away, even in the few months between the end of the college season and the beginning of Summer League action, you could tell Davis had improved a ton, and he did exactly what he planned to do by becoming a standout in Summer League with several big-time performances. He always played with high energy, his defense was tough and physical, and most importantly, his shooting continued to show a ton of improvement, and anyone who watched could tell he had the makings of a promising 3-and-D player. By the end of the Summer League, he was drawing interest from several teams, including a few contenders like the Nuggets, Sixers, Celtics, and Warriors, but all of those teams were hesitant to give him the guaranteed contract he wanted, so when the Toronto Raptors came in and offered him what he wanted, he took it without hesitation. Some things are just meant to be in this regard for several reasons, because Fred VanVleet of the Raptors was actually one of his biggest motivators through this process. VanVleet is also a former undrafted player currently finding tons of success in the NBA, and thanks much in part to the Raptors having confidence in him, he's become one of the great success stories in the league. VanVleet has even started his own brand, with its motto being "Bet on yourself," which is the same thing Davis told everyone that he was doing, crediting VanVleet for doing so. On top of that, both Kawhi Leonard and Danny Green had chosen to leave the Raptors in free agency that summer, so playing time on the wing was going to be up for grabs, and if there's one thing for sure about Raptors coach Nick Nurse, it's that he's only going to play guys that buy into the team's defensive philosophies, work hard, and do their job. As an undrafted player who had to work for everything he was given to this point, Davis did not plan to slow down anytime soon. The Raptors also signed former lottery pick Stanley Johnson in the offseason, and after a disappointing stint in Detroit, many expected him to earn those minutes as an opportunity to try to turn his career around and get a second chance. But so far this season, Johnson has appeared in only 5 games, and in those games, he's pretty much only been given garbage time minutes. Davis is a legitimate contributor in the Raptors' rotation this season, and while his per-game averages may not pop out as anything special, the reason why he's gained the trust of Nick Nurse so quick is because he fits into their system seamlessly and does all of the little things that teams want from their role players. He's currently shooting about 42% from 3, he has a sub-100 defensive rating, and his net rating, which measures how many points the Raptors outscore opponents by when he's on the floor, currently sits at plus 9.8, which is up there for the best on the team almost. He doesn't try to do too much, he plays defense the way the Raptors need him to, and he spaces the floor for Pascal Siakam, Kyle Lowry, and Fred VanVleet to operate around him. Davis is truly one of the best stories of the season so far, but because he's not a big name, I feel like what he's been able to do in his first year has flown way under the radar. He took one of the biggest risks possible at the time of the draft and executed his high-risk, high-reward plan to perfection, and moving forward is looking like someone that any team would love to have in their rotations. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below your thoughts on Davis's road to the NBA. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.